baby. And we gotta keep it hype.
Keep it hype.
Represent it for life. You know how we do it. Woo! Hey! Jacksonville Jags. We don't mean to brag, but when we on the field, we got it in the bag. Jacksonville Jags. You know how we ball. Best believe it. Got the people screaming out, Duval. Jacksonville Jags. We don't mean to brag, but when we on the field, we got it in the bag. Jacksonville Jags. You know how we ball. Best believe it. Got the people screaming out, Duval. Okay, Jacksonville Jaguars. Too much for your crew to handle.
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
And what is going on, everybody? Welcome into Club Jaguar, your favorite live Jaguars podcast right here on this channel every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We are pumped to have you guys here. And congrats to all Jaguar fans. We are currently second place in the AFC South. Let's go. Very, very competitive stuff. Obviously, we're only one spot back at the Houston Texans, but we got a little bit of way to go. But in all seriousness, the Jaguars are 0-2. We're not happy. There's a bunch of, honestly, more questions than answers right now. I'm going to see if my two co-hosts have any of those answers for me. So first, I'll bring on Jason from Jaguars United, fresh off of his film breakdown last night. Jason, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. It's happy to be here. Glad that we still have some fans that are interested in the Jags still. So that's nice.
Yeah, we will see the turnout today. That's for sure. And next up, we got Jordan DeLugo from Gen Jag. What's going on, Jordan?
I did not expect that opening. That was great. Second place in the
stuff,
AFC South.
It's good
Hilarious. I love it.
But yeah, shout out to the Jaguars second place. Shout out to this.
Yeah.
Also, I forgot to mention this stream is powered by BetUS. And honestly, guys, on BetUS, the Jaguars are truly number two. I think the Texans right now are minus 300 to win the AFC South, while the Jaguars are plus 550. So give you a little update there. But shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the stream. Midway through the stream, we'll get into this upcoming Bills game and go over lines and stuff like that. And we can go over the history of like where all three of us are at all time when it comes to our different predictions for what is going on. So, but first, before we do that, can't get too far ahead of ourselves. The Jaguars played a football game. They showed up. They were there for 60 minutes and left. Unfortunately, they left Trevor Bank with an L. So it was a rough game. And it's been a weird first couple of games for the Jaguars. Very, very inconsistent. There's been times where it's just there's just absolutely no offense. The defense has been solid, but no takeaways. So really with this one, I guess we'll start with Jordan. Like, Jordan, after this game, I mean, I guess just give your overall thoughts. I don't even know how to like preface this. The Jaguars got beat by the Browns. They've lost, obviously, 18-13. They definitely could have won the game, but at the same time, they didn't feel like the better team at any point in that game. So I guess give your overall macro thoughts on everything.
I thought they did feel like the better team in the second half, but it was a little too late in that regard, and they still were making mistakes. It was not clean by any stretch of the imagination, but it's one of these things where at 0-2, this is kind of familiar territory for Doug Peterson's Jaguars. 1-2 to start last year, 3-7 to start 2022. And I'm by no means trying to spin this positive. It's a familiar setting for this football team, unfortunately. And it's a dangerous place to live in, having to play catch up every year. And there's issues across the board. I know people are talking about how the defense is improved. I think it is, but that defense couldn't get off the field in the first half against the Cleveland Browns offense that is not good. It was without star tight end, without your top two tackles, without your all-pro running back, and you couldn't get off the field. And they're lucky to not give up two straight touchdowns. Amari Cooper was wide open down the field, and he dropped a pass on third down. And so they were also, they had a couple opportunities on the first drive to force turnovers, and they just didn't quite come up with them. So there's a myriad of issues. It's not just offensive. It's not just offensive line. It's not just coaching. It's not just receivers. It's not just quarterback. It's all going wrong a little bit haywire for the Jaguars over the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's the tricky thing is there seems like there's no one big issue. There may be one big play to point out here and there, but overall, when you look at the team, there's no like one big issue where it's like, that's the problem. Once you get that fixed, everything will be good. There's a bunch of stuff going on. So Jason, let's go ahead and hear, I guess, your overall thoughts about last Sunday's game.
I mean, the most frustrating thing for me is that it's the same issues and same problems, and I leave the stadium thinking this is exactly the same as last year. Like at the back end of the season when we started losing all the games, it was all the same issues. We weren't executing. We weren't doing, like you said, like you can't point to any one person or issue because nobody's executing. It's the same issues. The offensive line is not blocking for Trevor. The run game can't get going when it matters. They can't pick up easy plays. You're getting roughing the passer calls at the worst times. It's the play calling looks vanilla and ineffective, and it's really the exact same issues we had last year. And we were told that we bring in veteran leadership and you bring in all these people and it's going to help the team. And you got another offseason with Doug, and Trevor gets another year. He gets paid. It's just frustrating because we're saying all the same things we said last year about this team, and nothing's changed and nothing has been fixed. So it really kind of leaves us kind of hopeless, which is a terrible place to be when you're a fan base.
Yeah, and the weird thing for me right now is, so like I remember, obviously 2021 with Urban Meyer was like so bad. I mean, the coaching was terrible. We had wide receivers running into each other. And I just remember the next year in 2022, it was like, oh my gosh, like look at some of these route concepts, like guys are running wide open. We actually have a good offensive scheme where we're actually able to like move the ball well. Like it just feels like when you compare like 2024 to 2022, it's like the coaching has taken a step backwards. It's like all of a sudden you don't have these same guys like kind of running open. You have the offense, it feels like struggling a lot more. I remember when the Jaguars were losing games at the beginning of 2022, it felt like we were at least playing positively, where it's like, oh, we barely missed that one. But now it just
I
feels
think
like
that was about expectation, though, bro. I honestly do.
yeah, that's what I was wanting. You think it's more, but also I wonder, like, because sometimes I'm looking at these routes and it's like, I don't understand some of the routes that the Jaguars are running right now. And I guess maybe it's expectation. Is that kind of what you feel like is going on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sitting here defending anything going on at this moment because it's been pretty bad overall. But I do think when you look at the beginning of the 2022 season, the beginning of the 2023 season, the Jaguars' offenses look like crap to start the season all 3 years Doug Peterson has been here. They were able to pick themselves up out of it a little bit the first 2 years. Obviously, they went on a crazy run in 2022, 2023. As good as Trevor Lawrence was during the run where they went like 7-1, that was as much to do with the defense. And it was crazy the fall off that defense had after that, because the defense was playing so well for a while under Mike Caldwell that they just kind of fell apart. But yeah, I think that saying like that this looks worse than it did to start the 2022 season is not really accurate.
Okay. Yeah, and I almost wonder, because even in the 3 years that Doug has been here, it felt like, I think at the end of 2022 is when he looked the best. But at the same time, like I feel like every game has kind of almost been pretty similar to the last 2 games. It's just the Jaguars have had lucky streaks where they fall on the right side of the win-loss column, because even in 2023, when we had that 7-1 stretch, it didn't feel like we were this really, really good dominating team. It was just like, you kind of go to Pittsburgh, you kind of squeak out a win there. You beat Atlanta, even though you only scored like 1 touchdown. It just feels like we've never really been that complete team, and we've just kind of been streaky about whether we fall on the right side of the win-loss column. So for you, Jason, like, do you think like offensive coaching and offensive scheme is kind of going backwards, or you kind of feel like everything's been neutral?
I mean, I was defending the play calling last year due to the inability of the offensive line to block. And it kind of made sense for them not to be able to do things because they knew they couldn't block for Trevor. They knew they couldn't run the ball up the middle. And although we see parts of it here and there where we can do it, I wonder if this offensive coaching staff and the play callers are still worried about that. and if they still are game planning around the lack of the offensive line and protection. I mean,
Wasn't
you
worried
added-
about it. Backed him on his own goal line.
Well,
That's for sure.
I mean, that was again like I'm not
Crazy.
defending the play calling, but I broke down a play on my show yesterday. It was like a max protect with 2 tight ends blocking, and you had 2 guys in routes. I mean, that happens in the football. So, but the route concepts were deep. It was like a shot play on like a post.
Was that the Gabe Davis one?
Yeah, but everyone was covered.
Yeah, that
And,
was so ugly.
Yeah, and I mean,
So
people are
ugly.
like, "Oh, Gabe Davis ran his route too deep, or they were too slow, or he should have thrown to Brian Thomas Jr." It's like you watch these other teams that we play, and even other teams, and they just methodically move the ball down the field. I mean, yeah, the Browns were terrible on 3rd down, but they went 3 for 3 on 4th down. So if you lump that in, they were pretty average when it comes to conversion rate, and it's just the Jags never seem to be like ahead of the chains, and whether that's due to lack of execution or the play calling, it's just we're just always behind the chains. And no, I don't think any offense does well in that situation. So I really am at a loss here for what to do. I really just think until that offensive line is fixed, we're just going to be trying to be creative, innovative, and just hope, like you said, Dalton, that the game luckily falls our direction.
And this is one thing that I've been considering doing is like when I look back at this last game, I mean, Brandon Sheriff looks completely washed. I'm not sure if he has really much left in him. And Cam Robinson just played terrible last game. So I'm almost wondering, like, is there any accountability that's going to be held here? Will we see potentially maybe some starters shaken up? Like, are they going to try to give maybe Cooper Hodges a shot at right guard? I don't know if this is the best time for him to come in there, especially against, Buffalo on Monday Night Football with some of their defensive linemen. But, I almost wonder, like Cam Robinson was not playing good at all. I mean, I would have benched him for Walker Little mid-game. I mean, it wasn't even like necessarily a power issue. It was just like him whiffing and just him completely missing. So, like if you guys are the coach on Monday, are you guys shaking up the offensive line at all when it comes to, who's starting this upcoming game?
I wouldn't. Not yet. Just I've thought Walker Little is better than Cam Robinson for a while anyways. So, that's neither here nor there. But, Cam Robinson not playing well against Myles Garrett. I mean, who would have called that? Right?
Yeah.
Anyone with eyes would say that you're going to struggle with Myles Garrett. What was more concerning is the fact that they're consistently trying to get him on the move, hitting linebackers, and he can't even touch them.
Yeah.
And is that the
gonna
fastest linebacker group on the planet? Maybe. I mean, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, JOK, his speed was just killing the Jaguars consistently. And Jordan Hicks played well. Couldn't block Grant Delpit whenever he blitzed either. So that was ugly. And, as much as I would like to say, like, I really wish Cooper Hodges did not get injured last year. Because then you would have some idea. Because this whole training camp and offseason, he was just trying to get back to playing fully confident and fully healthy. And I just didn't think he looked that good. So it's like, geez, do you really want to get him in there against Ed Oliver and the rest of this talented defensive front this soon? And again, you follow the money. Like, are they going to bench a $21 million left tackle? Or are they going to bench a whatever $15 million plus right guard in game 3? No.
I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is, you guys know I was harping on drafting an offensive lineman early in the draft last year. I mean, we're still in the point of the season where that player, if he were on the team, wouldn't be starting yet. So
right,
we're kind of getting there due to the lack of bad play. I think you do have a decision to make with Cam Robinson. I mean, I think there was one play where they had a toss sweep where he got out in space and he obliterated a corner. And I was like, okay, like that's what he can do. What I tried to remind myself of is this Browns defense is a good defensive unit. Like, it really is. Like, I know
number one in the NFL last year.
Exactly. And like, I was reading some Browns articles after the game, and they were talking about how like the Browns are back to what they were last year. And you kind of forget that the Cowboys hung whatever it was over 30 points on them. You just labeled them a bad team. And
there was a special teams touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a chance if we can just have a glimmer of hope here, losing 2 games is not the end of the world. There's still 15 more games in the regular season. You played a good Browns defense and couldn't score. Week 1, you played a good Dolphins team. There's a chance that they just, like Jordan said, they came out of the gate slow, like Doug Peterson does. And, another good news is Trevor was visibly pissed after the game. And so maybe that elevates his play and elevates his him taking ownership and holding his other teammates responsible. And maybe that'll elevate the play of everyone else, hopefully.
Yeah, I do want to transition to Trevor a little bit because this is what's so hard because you can there's everything is going wrong on offense. I mean, the offensive line is terrible, but then also, Trevor Lawrence might not be playing the best either. And there's even times where I saw the Jaguars did the whole, run pass situation and they ran the ball, didn't get much. They ran the ball again and it was 3rd down. Trevor's looking at the sidelines kind of like, what the hell? When it comes to evaluating Trevor Lawrence, he isn't putting up the best numbers. Obviously, at 16 passing yards in the first half. What do you guys think the actual issue is? Do you guys put a lot on Trevor Lawrence? Or are you guys putting a lot on the fact that the offensive line isn't playing well, so his clock is sped up and maybe he's having to leave pockets early? Do you guys think that game planning when it comes to just how we are attacking other teams? Do you think we're trying to rely too heavily on an offensive identity that's not us? Are we trying to be this physically imposing team when that's not us? Should we be targeting, some of our pass catches a little bit more? So Jordan, when it comes to evaluating Trevor Lawrence, how are you seeing him right now? Are you at all concerned about him? Or do you think that the players and the coaches need to do better about putting him in a good position to succeed?
I'm not worried about Trevor Lawrence at all. I basically thought he played pretty great the first game. They took the ball out of his hands in the final quarter, which, again, you're paying this man to win you football games. Let him try to do that. And then in the first half against the Browns, he did not play well, but he did play well in the second half, and it wasn't too little too late, really, from his perspective. He led a touchdown drive to put them on top, and lo and behold, illegal shift. Dearness Johnson doesn't get set. And, the touchdown comes
ETN
off the board,
later
and then
too.
ETN falls in the end zone. That probably would have been a touchdown. So, again, I think Trevor's doing fine. If you're going to tell me that he's not good because he had a bad half against the best defense in football or one of the best defenses in football, I'm not really going to buy that. Does he need to play better overall? Yes. Everyone, literally, execution from play calling to not just specific types of play. Like the first play that you talked about, Jason, on the stream last night, it was an ugly play, no doubt about it. But then you also have play sequencing, like when to call plays, and that needs to be executed better.
Mm-hmm.
And then offensive line pass protection and run blocking needs to be executed better. Trevor Lawrence has a couple reps every game that he could do a lot better. The receivers, same thing. So it's literally everything right now. And that's what's so frustrating about it. You can't just point to one thing. Like you said, Dalton, you can't. It's literally everything. But I'm not worried about Trevor Lawrence.
I'm also not worried about him, but I do think the coaches need to put him in a better place to succeed because, I mean, we can point to all the plays you guys just said, and even week 1, the Kirk drops and the ETN fumbles and all that. But the reality of it is every NFL team has those plays in the game where their quarterback has to overcome those plays. And that is typical in the NFL. And so we need Trevor Lawrence to overcome those bad plays because they happen every game to every team. And, it's the reality of it is most NFL games do come down to one score. So you got to have a quarterback who can overcome it. I don't think they're setting Trevor up for success the best way possible. I really think the way that Doug Peterson's calling plays is so systematic and demands perfection from Trevor, when I think Trevor's better at kind of more improvisational stuff, taking deep shots, fitting it into tight windows. And I think Doug just wants him to, set up the perfect play and make one read. And if that one read's not open, the play's not there. And so not only are you relying on Trevor to make the perfect throw, you're relying on the offensive line to make a perfect block. You're relying on the receiver to get open and make the perfect route on that run. And it's just not coming together. So whatever it is, it's not working. And it's really on the coaches to change it if it's not working at the end of the day. And that's where I do kind of put more blame on the coaches now than I did in the past, because at some point, if it's not working, you have to change it. And Doug Peterson's the CEO of this team, and ultimately offense and defense is going to fall on him.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
completely agree about the play calling. It's not as good as it needs to be right now. And there's a topic, amongst analytics, easy buttons. The Jaguars do not hit easy buttons for their quarterback. And the easy buttons are, and none of these things are done just for the sake of doing them. They're done with a purpose. But pre-snap motion, RPOs, play action, all of those things need to be implemented more within this offense. And they have tried to implement a lot more play action, but it feels like they don't really know what they're doing in that regard yet from a play calling and schematic standpoint. They're still trying to like they're getting their feet wet in that type of world, but they're not running much motion. They're not running a ton of RPOs. And Trevor's great with RPOs. He is. And of course, you saw one last week where it just sails through Brian Thomas's hands on like a little glance type route. But I'm with you. They have got to do better coaching wise. And I think if they do, that will help unlock a lot of the offense and it will start to limit some of the mistakes that you're seeing.
And it's funny because, like, the Jaguars, it feels like right now they want to be this like tough physical, oh, we're going to run the ball down your throat type of situation. That's going to open up the pass. And I would understand that if maybe, the first and third round they draft an offensive lineman, but the Jaguars at pick number 23 overall decided to draft a Brian Thomas Jr. And when you compare Brian Thomas Jr. to Malik Neighbors, you guys know Malik Neighbors last Sunday caught 10 passes, but he also was targeted 18 times. 18 times he was targeted. Brian Thomas Jr. this season has been targeted 8 times. Like, I just don't understand the Jaguars draft this guy in the first round. He's shown how dynamic he is. He has 2 incredible deep balls, and probably even 3 if you count the touchdown pass he had against the Dolphins. I mean, this guy is dynamic, and we obviously he had that drop on the slant, but this guy can hurt you all over the field. I don't understand why the Jaguars don't have a game plan of how about we force feed Brian Thomas Jr. How about we allow him to get all his, kinks out of him and just target him. And, obviously right now the passing game seems to be a little bit broken. It's very strange right now, especially with, Christian Kirk kind of disappearing. I mean, 2 crucial third down drops against Miami, and then last game, 1 catch for -1 yards. And, now Evan Ingram is shelved for I don't know how long. Yeah, he should have had a touchdown. That's true.
And that was a great catch by him too.
It was. And it's unfortunate. Those kind of things. And I'm not as bothered by that if there was like this obvious hold that would have, if he didn't hold them, the quarterback would have got sacked. But it was one of those things where like that illegal shift didn't affect the play at all. But, it's just, man, I don't understand why the Jaguars don't try to, really feature Brian Thomas Jr. more, because, if all of a sudden Brian Thomas Jr. becomes a guy that teams are scared of, then all of a sudden it opens up so much more. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to draw safety help. It's going to open up other players. It's going to force the safeties back a little bit and, linebackers, and it's going to allow the run game to open up a little bit more. I just I don't understand why he's not being targeted more. I simply don't understand it. And I'm not sure, are you guys seeing him kind of running wide open on tape at all? Because I know you guys kind of dissect this stuff a good amount.
I mean, not really. I think he's averaging 24 yards per catch. And I mean, I think defenses are like aware of him, and they are like aware of his big play potential. It's really it's hard. It's hard to know what they're even saying in that locker room. I mean, maybe they are trying to get him targeted. And the second Trevor snaps the ball, he's got a guy in his face, and he has to dump it down to a running back or try to find a shallow route. So, I mean, it's hard to know if that's what they're doing. Is it the chicken or the egg? Is the offensive line preventing this from happening, or is the coaching not allowing it? We don't know. But, like you said, you invested so much into this offense and this air attack. It is kind of painful to see it not be better because of the investments that we have put into it. So, week 2, let's just hope it gets better.
Yeah, I think one of the things too is like early on, I think that they expected to be able to spread the ball around better than they have been. They didn't expect Evan Ingram not be available last week. They didn't expect Christian Kirk to have this slow start. So it's almost like by default that they need to feature Brian Thomas Jr. more now. And so I just don't think they entered the season feeling like they had to, feed him the ball a ton. I thought, they probably were looking at it like, okay, if we can get him on shots 4 or 5 times a game early on, that's going to be a good way to build his confidence up. But now it's almost necessitated that he needs to get the ball more, just based on the way everything's going. And if you include the play last week where they dialed up the out and up on their own goal line, that's like 5 intended plays for him. They had 5 intended plays for him in the first game. I don't think that's enough. I think it needs to be like closer to 7, 8, 9, 10, depending on the game script and everything that's going on. And like a team like the Bills running a lot of too high shell, that might make it difficult to target him deep down the field. You might have to dial it up a little bit differently. They're trying to put a shell on top of the offense more often than not, play more zone coverage. So we'll see how it goes this upcoming week, but they definitely need to find ways to get him the ball more.
Yeah, and I would try to get him some all different ways. Like, try him on some wide receiver screens, try him on some, slant routes, maybe give him a reverse. Just try, use them along the sidelines when it comes to like, an out route. I would just try to find different ways just to acclimate this guy to the NFL game because, man, we see the deep ball is good. I mean, that last like catch that he made, the deep ball late in the game that set him up in the red zone. I mean, I haven't seen really many Jaguars players be able to outstretch their hands and kind of make that grab. I was almost expecting him to drop it just because I'm not used to a Jaguar player really being able to, attack the ball and catch a deep ball all hands like that. Usually I'm used to like these big whiffs and big drops. So, if I'm the Jaguars, I'm really finding a way against the Bills and just going forward to be able to just force feed this guy the ball and make him just a feature part of this offense, like many other teams do with their wide receiver ones.
When Brenton Strange is your best offensive player, I know Brian Thomas Jr. had more yards, but Brenton Strange was, I think, the best offensive player last week. You probably need to reevaluate your reads, your formations, and everything else because he actually played a good game. He really did, and that was good. And that's what sucks. Guys like Brenton Strange and Monteric Brown got overlooked because the team played so bad, and those guys actually had good games. Alucon, I thought, had a good game for the most part, and it's sad because those guys are getting overshadowed by the poor play of the rest of the team.
Yeah, and why is this is another thing we haven't talked at all about the defense, but I'm not really understanding like. I mean, I've been fine with the defense. I don't have really too many complaints. Obviously, the main thing is like we don't have any takeaways, which, man, that would be nice to have a takeaway, swing some momentum, get some, set the offense up in kind of good field position. But like when it comes to like some of these substitutions, it's just weird because at one point in the game, it's like Chad Muma and Ventrell Miller in the game. Like, how are you guys feeling about these crazy substitutions where it's like, where it almost feels like a Pop Warner team where each player on the team is due a minimum amount of snaps. Like, how are you guys feeling about the way Ryan Nielsen is kind of playing that?
It seems like the players are bought into it. And I think that the idea is that they're going to be fresher down the stretch, but you got to get to the games mattering down the stretch. And I think that they're doing a good job defensively overall, but it's not a shock.
Do you think Alucon needs to lead the field?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's not a shock to see defensive linemen rotating a lot, but the linebackers, you don't see that much in the NFL at all.
Yeah.
At least I haven't. So it's a little weird, but you can't say that the guys that are coming in aren't performing.
Yeah.
Like Ventrell Miller and Chad Muma, when they've been in there, have played pretty darn good. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's not raising the alarm bells yet.
I mean, they've given up 38 points over 2 games. That's good enough to win. Like, obviously you want to see the time of possession swing in the favor of the Jags with the long drives, but part of that goes back to the offense too. If you give up a long drive and then your offense goes 3 and out, that's kind of part on the offense. But when you look at the total points given up, defense is doing just fine when you look at that. And when you look at the guys they're subbing in, you look at guys like Ventrell Miller and Jerrion Jones and Chad Muma, who have a lot of inexperience to perform at the level that they're performing. I think it's pretty good. I think teams know we have a good defensive line, so they're scheming their offense around getting the ball out of the hands quick of the quarterback. And like I said, I mean, they're giving up long drives, but a lot of times, these D linemen aren't getting sacks, but they're getting held a lot, and they're and things like that. So I'm not worried about the defense at all. I'm okay with Ryan Nielsen. I'd obviously like to see get off the field at some point, but the offense could help there by having a sustainable drive of their own, and then the time of possession balance wouldn't look as bad as it does. I mean, I think I don't know the exact number. It was like 8 or 10 minute difference this week in time of possession.
I think it was 8.
Yeah, and so it's but the amount of times we watch the offense trot out there, go 3 and out, and trot off the field, it's like, how much of that are we going to put on the defense? So I think they're playing good enough to win, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah,
I do too,
I
for
agree.
sure. It
I
was just
agree.
like the early in that game was a little disappointing. But
Yeah.
Ronald Darby got his hands on a football. It should have been or could have been an interception. Instead, it ended up being a catch for Jerry Jeudy on 2nd and 20 for a first down.
Mhm.
Devin Lloyd forces a fumble at the goal line that bounced back right into the ball
Unlucky
carrier's
bounce.
hands. So it is a little bit like, they're close there with some of the getting off the field, but it was a little bit of a frustrating start.
But shout out to Dustin Hopkins though for getting that fumble recovery back our way. That's a new one. I didn't know the kicker was allowed to run past the whatever it was. We're all kind of learning this thing. But real quick, want to get into Bet US, but a couple of super chats. Tekken said, "Who pisses you off more, Luke Fortner or Nick Foles?" That's an interesting random question. I guess Nick Foles, stole some more money from us, so I'll just go with Nick Foles. Brian asked
Definitely
something
Nick Foles.
positive. Something positive. Pouring rain and Trevor didn't fumble. His overall ball security has improved. Yeah, he did have.
Knock on
Didn't he have
wood.
one fumble that he got back? But yeah, I mean, we'll continue to see. I mean, he's still getting hit a lot more than I'd like to. But yeah, he doesn't have any interceptions. So that's another good thing. I know that was a big complaint coming into this year. So guys, next I want to get into Bet US, but I do want to revisit last week's picks, which I will do right. The Jaguars are 3.5 point favorites. The over-under is actually at 41.5. I will say that the Jaguars win, and I think that the Jaguars will cover as well. I have the under on 41.5. I think the Jaguars win this one 20-10. We're going to move on to Jordan.
I'm 100% with you. I think the Jaguars cover. I think they win. I think it's under 41. I
All
just
right,
don't
so-
see the Browns putting up that many points.
Jags win 21-20, the under by a hook, and they don't cover the spread.
You are outmatched 2-1. Okay,
that's fair.
The-
That's fair.
The underdogs coming in, so we're gonna put 20 on it. Okay, 20. This stream is powered by Bet US. If any of these lines interest you, 150% deposit bonus. So if we go ahead and look at the current standings, because I am taking score of this. So last week, me and Jordan went 1-2 in our picks, and shout out to Jason, 2-1.
2 of 3.
When we what's that?
2 of 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right.
when we look at overall records, me and Jordan are no, it looks like Jordan is 2-4. I am 3-3, and Jason is 5-1. So shout out to Jason. And I think most importantly is the picks against the spread. Me and Jordan are each 1-1, and Jason is 2-0 and picking against the spread. So Jason, how do you do it, my man?
I'm going to go on a limb and just say I have a significant more gambling experience than the both of you.
No doubt.
The real answer is I've gotten lucky. That's the real answer.
Gotcha. But yeah, this upcoming game. So the Jaguars. I guess I'll ask you guys. What do you guys think? What do you guys think the line is this upcoming weekend on Bet
I already
US?
looked at it.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I'm kind of
I haven't seen it.
filibustering right now. Okay, what do you think it is, Jordan?
4.5 Bills.
It is
6.
Oh,
It is currently at 5. Jaguars are 5-point underdogs. So let me. shift
okay. I was
the
close.
screen
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
little bit.
My service is sick. I'm sorry. I use Bet US. So it must have changed.
But yeah, Jaguars are 5-point underdogs, which, yeah, this one we'll go ahead and we'll preview this game a little bit, and at the very end, like we always do, we'll put a little bit of fun money on this one. Of course, Jason is kind of the champion so far, but yeah, this line interests you guys. We have a 150% deposit bonus on your first deposit on BetUS, like you can see right here. So that's on your first deposit. Then on your second and third deposits is a 125% sign up bonus up to $2,000. So they also have 24/7 customer service, 24-hour payouts. So you just go to betus.com and type in promo code YouTube150. They're going to hook you up over there. So when we look at this, guys, going into this weekend, the Jaguars are obviously going to be playing in Buffalo. It's Monday Night Football, and it's a 7:30 kickoff. There's actually a double header, which is interesting. I'm kind of glad we get the extra hour because I like to go to bed early. But yeah, the Jaguars are, like I said, 5-point underdogs. Everyone's going to be picking the Bills. I mean, the Bills are looking really good right now. They're 2-0. They just beat down the Miami Dolphins, who, yeah, that was an ugly game on Thursday Night Football. They have a lot of rest because they played that on Thursday night. So, they get, what is that, like 10 days rest before they play the Jaguars. So I guess we'll start with Jason. Jason, going into this game, what is your confidence level ahead of this one?
It's not high. It's definitely not high if we base off of the last two games. The Bills are a good team. Jags tend to have the Bills number, though. And what scares me the most about the Bills is Josh Allen's ability to run. He typically does a good job scrambling against us and picking up yards with his feet. I don't know if he has the receiver power he's had in the past, but defense is always good. I think they're doing a good job of establishing the run. And I think it's not high. That's for sure.
How about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I wouldn't say confidence is high in a win. The Jaguars offense has to do more to get out of their own way before you can be like, yeah, go Jags. Let's win this football game, right? But I do think it's a really interesting matchup. And I was on Cover One last night, disguised coverage with Anthony, which if you want to look at some matchups, y'all can go watch that after you watch this. But
where's that at? Where's that? Where can we find that?
Cover One on YouTube.
Cover One. Okay.
Yeah, they're great Bills channel. They do a lot more than just Bills, but they started out as just Bills. But basically, I think it's interesting, Jaguars defense versus the Bills offense, because if there was a team that you're more worried about with having Tyson Campbell out, it's a team that has a legit number one outside receiver. The Bills don't have that right now. Most of their targets are being funneled inside to Khalil Shakir, to Dalton Kincaid. And so that's interesting to me. Buster Brown isn't going to be going against a Stephon Diggs. And you look at what the Bills did last year, their offense getting it going against the Jaguars. It was Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, who had 100 yards against the Jaguars, who's obviously not with the Bills anymore. So I think that's really interesting to watch how it goes with the Jaguars outside corners versus Bills outside receivers. But then also, as Jason mentioned, they've been able to get the ground game going in a big way. The Jaguars have been pretty darn good against the run, except for in short yardage situations. And they've allowed 3.8 yards per carry. Devin Lloyd and Foye Oluokun are playing wonderful football. And I think your edges are doing darn good against the run as well. So, and the corners are playing physical against the run too. So those are some interesting matchups in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I went ahead and linked the video that Jordan was with Cover One. Looks like it's a pretty detailed oriented video. So if you guys want to digest something like that, yeah, it's right over there. And it's funny, the Jaguars and like this game is funny because, I mean, first of all, the Jaguars do have a good history against, the Bills. When we look back at the last, Trevor Lawrence and Josh Hines Allen are both 2-0 against Josh Allen. Also, we have the success in the playoffs against them. And, we beat them most recently in the, 2017 playoffs at home and beat them in London last year when they were all complaining. So we definitely have like a funny history against them. And this is just a type of game where everybody that's going to count us out of it. And all of a sudden the Jaguars somehow go there and beat them by like 14. And we're sitting here like, what kind of team are we? So, this game, like it's really tricky. And unfortunately we're in the situation where these next two games are pretty much must win. And we have the Bills, who are playing like the best team in the AFC, and we have the Texans, who are also, these are two of the three best teams in the AFC right now. Not going to kind of put anybody over the Chiefs right now. But Gosh, it is definitely tough. Confidence meter is probably pretty low right now. I'm almost in a situation with the Jaguars where I feel apathetic, where I'm like, okay, let me put my expectations really, really low so they can kind of surprise me if they do anything crazy. But yeah, the Jaguars obviously have a chance to win this one. You have a chance to win pretty much any NFL game. And it's funny with these NFL games because they all these close games, they come down to like one or two plays. Like, obviously, I think we all agree if Travis Etienne doesn't fumble against the Dolphins, we go up 24-7 and we win that game. Even last game, you don't have the illegal shift. You're going to get a touchdown. And maybe that shifts things. And there's also things the other way. I mean, we saw, Amari Cooper drop a wide open pass that would have set them up in really good field position. Dustin Hopkins obviously jumped off sides, and, it allowed the Jaguars to get the ball back when they almost got the ball basically at the 25-yard line up 10-0. So, the NFL, it's all about, these different plays, and can the ball bounce our way? The ball didn't bounce our way when, who was it? Deontay Foreman, I think it was, fumbled. There's just so many different situations here, and it's really tough. It's really tough. So when I look at this one, I'm not sure if I'm going to necessarily pick the Jaguars to win, but I guess I'll ask you guys if there are any last thoughts before we actually go through and we pick who we think's going to win, and we do some different. We look at these different over-unders.
I think you'll see a different Jags team this week, based off of what we saw with Trevor in the press conference, the pressure that's on the team, and their ability to play better on the road. I think you'll see a different team this week than we saw last week.
Interesting.
Yeah, they've started out better on the road consistently. I don't know why. It's so bizarre. You would think like
we needed a vacation
energy,
to London to get back right last year.
Yeah.
Right? It's insane, but there's no question. And Trevor Lawrence has been good on Monday night. He's been good in primetime.
He has.
So I agree with Jason there.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one. So right now, the Jaguars are 5-point underdogs. The over-under is set at 45.5. So we'll start with Jordan, since right now you technically have the worst record. We'll do Jason last, because if I did Jason before me, I would just cheat off of him.
Thank you.
So,
or you'd pick the opposite, trying to pick up some ground.
Yeah, maybe I'll try to pick up some ground because we're down for the count right now. Okay, but luckily, hey, the Jaguars are 0-2, but at the same time, there's 15 games left. Okay, Jason. So we have 15 games left to be able to recover, and it's not about how you start; it's how you finish.
That's
Jason.
a good point.
So we'll start with you, Jordan. I guess give us some thoughts. Do you think the Jaguars win outright? Do you think the Jags cover? The over-under's at 45.5. So let's hear it.
I'll take under. I think that certainly it could go over, but I think a game in the low 20s makes sense. Low 20s, high teens, maybe the winners in the low 20s, losers in the high teens, something like that. Jaguars defense has played really well this year. Bills defense has played really well. I know you've got some good quarterbacks, but I could see this being a game where it's not a ton of points. I would take the Jags to cover with 5. I think that that's fair. And we normally pick 3 things. Right?
The winner
and out the winner, the outright winner.
That's a tough one. I mean, you should pick the Bills, obviously. I think objectively the Bills would be the pick. Something's telling me Jaguars, though. It's crazy.
Uh-oh. So what are you locking in? I need to hear a final answer.
I'm going to go Jags.
Oh, let's go. So Jordan,
I feel really good about covering and under, but
all right,
got to make up some games here. We'll see.
All right, so Jordan has the Jaguars winning outright, which obviously means the Jaguars cover, and he's got the under. So I'll go next. Okay, I'll go next. I'm figuring the Jaguars right here. Jaguars are winning this game. Okay, Jaguars are winning this game, which also means that the Jaguars are going to cover the 5 points, and I guess I'm also going under. Okay, me and Jordan, we're falling down with the ship. Okay, we're gonna keep matching each other because neither of us are huge Jag fans. Neither of us are biased, so we only pick these games with an unbiased viewpoint. So that's what I'm gonna take. And if I didn't say, we're going the under. So next up, we'll have we'll have Jason the Downer. Jason, what are you feeling this game?
And just so you guys know, I lock in these bets before we even do the show. So I'm giving you honestly what I picked. I'm with you, Dalton. I think the Jags win outright. I think the Jags cover the spread, and I think the game hits the over on this game.
Over. Okay.
Oh, let's go. Okay, guys. So we have a clean sweep here. Okay, clean sweep. The Jaguars are going to win this one outright. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pick the Jaguars money line, since all of us think that we're just going to go ahead and win straight up. So let's see what $20 is going to net us. It's going to net us $41. How about we do 30? I keep doing 20. Okay, we're going to do 30. Okay, we're putting down 30 on this game. We're going to place the bet. We're going to lock it in. And if you guys are interested, like I said, go to betus.com and then use promo code YouTube150. You are going to be able to get a 150% sign-up bonus if you haven't used it already. And if you have, then 125% deposit bonus on your second and third picks. And then we're going to keep on monitoring this, because I think this is pretty fun. So yeah, shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this stream and sponsoring this segment as we move on. And there's some other business I want to talk about, okay? Involving the Jaguars. And this one, I don't know if this is like tinfoil hat stuff here, but I listened to a popular Jaguar podcaster. I don't want to mention his name just because I don't want to misquote him, but it's all surrounding the Mason Smith inactive duties. So this one was surprising. Mason Smith, I thought last week had a pretty good game. I mean, he drew 2 holding calls. He's a second-round pick on a team that, I don't know how many teams in the NFL inactivated their second-round pick if they were healthy. And the Jaguars decided to do that. And now this person says that right now there seems to be some animosity maybe between Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson. And potentially Doug Peterson is a guy that wanted offensive linemen, and Trent Baalke didn't give him that. And potentially the Jaguars and Doug Peterson decided to stick it to Trent Baalke and decided to inactivate Mason Smith, which for me, if that is a true story, Doug Peterson needs to go ASAP, because I don't need this petty stuff going on right now where we're trying to stick it to the GM and trying to make the team not as good as they can be because they're not drafting what you want to take. But I don't know. Like I know Jordan's at a bunch of these press conferences and stuff like that. Like, do you feel like there's any legs to potentially this rumor, or do you think it's just kind of a bunch of crap?
I do think that there's some animosity. Just, Trent Baalke generally stirs some things up within his organizations that he's a part of. And Doug isn't afraid to, be a little proud at times, but I would be shocked if that was the reasoning. I do think there's something like that they haven't told us, but like, I don't think that's it. Because Jason made a great point, like on his show. In what world do you expect to activate Jeremiah Ledbetter and Asezi Otomewo, and they're going to all of a sudden be the answers for being more stout on the interior compared to Mason Smith? Like, and if you're going to have guys that are not stout up front, why not go with the rookie and try to continue to have him develop? Because you saw Jeremiah Ledbetter when he did have to play extended snaps down the stretch last year. That was when the run defense was getting gashed. That was when they had no chance to stop the run. When there was injuries to the interior of the defensive line and they weren't able to play well, and Jeremiah Ledbetter had to play a ton, he was not getting the job done. And we saw throughout training camp and preseason, Asezi Otomewo was much more about getting the interior penetration, disruption in the backfield. And so, honestly, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I just don't understand. Let's hear from you, Jason.
I don't know which YouTuber you're referencing. I kind of came to this conclusion on my own, and I brought it up on my show last night. And I had Travis Holmes on. He tried to convince me that that Mason Smith didn't have a great game against the run against the Dolphins, and they asked Ryan Nielsen who he would rather have, and they said they'd rather have Ledbetter and Big O than Mason Smith. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that for a second. There's no world where you take a guy in the second round and you healthy scratch him. There's just no world. Like, doesn't matter what your game plan is. It doesn't. Like, you take a guy in the second round he's expected to be either a starter right away or a very soon starter. And you don't healthy scratch either one of those positions in any way. And the 20% of the snaps they wanted those guys. That makes no sense to me. It doesn't. There's definitely something there. There's definitely something there. All of us as fans looked at it and were like, why didn't we take offensive linemen earlier? And it's not just like one or two or three of us, it's everybody. So maybe there was a conversation where Nielsen was like, I could get more out of Ledbetter this game, but it's the head coach's job to say, I don't care. Mason Smith was a second-round pick. We have to develop this guy for the future. So there's some red flags there, 100%. And like Jordan said beautifully, it's rare that Trent Baalke goes anywhere and doesn't have some sort of conflict with the head coach. So this is par for the course. I think there's something there. Also, your 4th-round pick is a healthy scratch as well.
Yeah, I was about to say that too. We're a team that was 1-5 down the stretch last year, and we struggled stopping the run. We desperately needed help. And also, Shad Khan spent $500 million this offseason on different players, and you're out here, you're not playing your 2nd-round pick. You're not playing your 4th-round pick. And it's not like you're inactivating maybe a backup offensive lineman or something like that. Like, these are guys that if the 2nd-round pick is a defensive lineman, they're in that rotation, and you're taking guys that you're getting off the street for nothing and playing them over that. I don't know. If I'm Shad Khan, I am investigating the shit out of this, because I'm sitting here like, why in the world are we drafting this guy with a premium draft pick and not playing him? Like, what is the reason for that? Is he not a good draft pick? Is there something going on where, like, Doug, are you trying to stick it to Baalke? Like, it's weird. I like it needs to be investigated by Shad Khan. And obviously the people asking Doug Peterson the questions, they can only press the issue so much. But man, this is really bad roster management, and just, it's really weird. It's strange. It's strange to me, because I would love to know around the league, for 2nd-round picks that are not injured, how many guys around the league are healthy scratches? Like, I don't know. It's puzzling to me. It's puzzling to me.
And additionally, how can you even use one game? And I know they saw him in training camp and preseason, but how can you use one regular season game as a sample size large enough to even make the conclusion that he's not going to help us this week? That makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even if he did have issues, it's not like he didn't help at times as well.
Right.
Like, he did draw 2 holding goals. He was disruptive.
Yep.
Maybe he wasn't holding the point great, but also Miami is a team that wants to make sure your interior defensive linemen are not involved in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Cleveland is quite the opposite. Like, maybe he would have had a chance to get even more involved this past week.
And like a 2nd or 3rd-round pick, like, that's a key time to be able to draft interior offensive linemen. I mean, I would have liked, hey, how about a Cooper Beebe? I would have liked to draft him. Like, I bet if we drafted him, there's a very good chance that he'd be out there potentially, being able to actually potentially start week 1. I mean, obviously with Jaguars a little bit different, but man, there are guys out there in the 2nd round. I mean, that in today's NFL, that's pretty much immediate impact. I mean, obviously we're playing Jarian Jones. Then our 4th-round pick is also, inactive, and we're playing our 7th-round pick. It's just
both 4th-round picks. It's
weird. It's really, really weird. And I don't know. And I'm not someone that's sitting here and saying, fire Doug tomorrow, fire Baalke tomorrow. Obviously, I want to get a sample size, but if there were a situation where, Doug Peterson is fired, we can't go into another coaching search with Trent Baalke in Shad Khan's pocket. Like, we absolutely can't do it. I know we're kind of a little bit early to be talking about this, but it's just, this raises huge red flags to me that you're inactivating a 2nd-round pick who I thought had a pretty decent game for a first game for a rookie. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. It concerned me a lot, and they got questions, and Shad Khan needs to investigate this, because it's just weird to me.
Something's there.
Yeah.
100% something's there.
Something is
Definitely.
absolutely there. Get a couple of super chats here. We have Debbie, I believe. She has some relation to
Debbie
Jordan,
Lynn.
because she was in here saying, hi to Jordan earlier. She says, "Hi guys, great show. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for
That's
support."
Mama.
There you go. What's up?
Aw.
What's up, Mama DeLugo? Thanks for stopping by. I'm surprised Luke isn't dropping any super chats in here. Would have loved
Hey,
to.
Luke's sleeping. He's a good boy.
Oh, okay. So you don't let him stay up for Club Jaguar.
No. He's got to go to bed before Dad hits the club.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Well, in about 8 years, when Luke's the YouTuber and Jordan's not, then I'm gonna remind him of that.
Yeah. We're gonna see it. We're gonna see it. Shout out to Tekken. He says, "I say that because Luke Fortner and Nick Foles seem to be your most hated Jaguars of all your videos I've watched." Yeah, I mean, I've had a good list of Jaguars I've been, not so.
That's a good question. Who is y'all's most hated Jaguar of all time?
Oh man. Did any of you guys? I got to think about this a little bit. Do you have a guy, Jason?
I got a couple, but
All right, let's hear from you. I need
okay.
to. I need
all
to
right.
think about
So
this.
who was the Jordan can help me out here? His name's escaping me. Who was the defensive lineman we signed to a big deal in like the early 2000s that talked
Hugh
crap about
Douglas.
Hugh Douglas. Hugh Douglas comes to mind as number one. RJ Soward comes to mind. I know those were like older players that maybe some of the younger
Aaron
fans.
Ross.
Yeah.
Aaron Ross talked bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you think, honestly, like I have a weird hatred for Justin Blackman, and I used to love him, but
Yeah, that's the pick I wanted. That's what I wanted that year. So
I hate him because of his potential, and it's
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
such wasted potential. But yeah, those are the three come to mind for me.
I know one guy for me that comes to mind, and I get grilled for this all the time. And look, guys, I am allowed to dislike this guy, and you guys are allowed to like this guy. So don't try to tell me I'm supposed to like him, but I don't like Jalen Ramsey. I think that his time on Jacksonville, he never spoke good about the city, and he never really acted like this was his team and he wanted to stay here. Like we hear Josh Hines Allen talk, good about the city of Jacksonville, that he wants to be here forever. You even hear like Trevor Lawrence and stuff like that. Jalen Ramsey never gave the nod, and he was always kind of flirting with like, oh, I might leave. Like, oh, you guys need to give me the bag. And even when he was on the Jaguars, I never really wanted to get his jersey just because like, sometimes his antics I loved him as a player. I mean, he was obviously a good player, but I don't know. It's not the kind of personality that I like. And obviously, he left on bad terms, and I know it's Tom Coughlin's fault. Look, I'm allowed to dislike him. Okay. So let me dislike him.
He was a damn good player, though.
He was a good player.
He was a damn good player.
And I put up with it while he was here. But then once he left Jacksonville, and, and the way he left Jacksonville, and the Jaguars were 0-2 against him, freaking because they stopped going to Brian Thomas Jr. against the Dolphins. I am just not a huge fan of Jalen Ramsey. That's one guy that comes to my mind.
Jordan, I don't mean to jump in before you say what you're going to say, but just a question for Dalton. If next offseason the Jags made a move and brought Jalen Ramsey back, what would your feelings be?
Come on over. I mean, I'll take the football player. I'll take the football player. I'm not sure. I mean, he just signed a bunch of money, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure how likely that will be. But I mean, like I said, like when the ball is snapped, I like him. Because he's obviously a great cornerback. But I'm just those types of players with those types of like just the attitudes. And I like the players that I like the players that embrace Jacksonville. Like you just mentioned a bunch of people that kind of talk crap about Jacksonville. You think of Aaron Ross that called it the vacation. I like the players that embrace Jacksonville, embrace the city, and talk about building legacies here. And Jalen Ramsey, even when he was on top of the world, he just flat out didn't do that. So we'll get to Jordan now.
Yeah, so I mean, I think all the guys that signed that were bad dudes free agent wise, yes. And I don't mean bad in terms of like they just weren't good. I mean like people that just didn't want to be here, were just kind of taking it lightly. Like I've seen Aaron Campman in the chat and like Toby Gerhart. It's not their fault they got signed when they still came in and tried their best. So they're not going to be my most hated.
And Toby Gerhart gives me funny memories, honestly.
Yeah.
2-yard Toby, the four carries that drive in the 1 yard line. That was funny. All right, let's hear Jordan.
Yeah.
Let me cut you off.
But so one guy who I absolutely love now, who was on my crap list at the beginning of his career, was Dewey. His first training camp, it was his rookie year, And he's the reason Josh Oliver missed his rookie year.
That's true.
One-on-one rep down the field, diving at Josh Oliver's ankles after he got beat for a touchdown. And Josh Oliver's down for the count. So that just rubbed me the wrong way. But obviously he's become kind of the epitome of what you want from a mentality standpoint.
That Josh Oliver draft class turned out to be a sneaky good draft class because you had
all those guys are getting paid.
No, you had Josh Hines Allen. You had Jawan Taylor. Then the third round, you thought you had a couple of busts. Quincy Williams, who's an all-pro. You had Josh Oliver, and then you decided to cap it off with Gardner Minshew, right at the end of that draft. It was kind of like at the time, 2-3 years in, you're like, man, this is a bust of a class. But as you look back on it, it's like, man, this is an interesting class here. Shout out to Urban Meyer for letting Josh Oliver and Quincy Williams go. But all right, so Dewey's one of your guys. Is there anybody else?
No, not anymore.
Or not anymore. Not anymore.
Was for like a moment. But
I'm tweeting Jordan DeLugo hates Dewey Wingard. I am tweeting that right now.
And you can edit stuff around to like.
No, you love him now. He's like the epitome of what you want from a mentality standpoint in Jacksonville. No question about it. But yeah, let's go with Blaine Gabbert. What the hell? That guy sucked from a personal standpoint.
So that wasn't his fault, dude. The receiver core around him, the coaching.
No, he was just like the nickname Blame made so much sense. Like he just had a bad attitude. No, he became a good backup in the league, but he had a bad attitude.
I think he yelled at that one guy. Gosh, who was a reporter? He was like tall and goofy. Vito or something. He
Jordan DeLugo.
Jordan DeLugo. I forget who he was, but he yelled at one of the beat reporters one time, like, "Oh, you want to go out there and do this stuff?" And it's like, "Oh, whoa, chill out, dude." Let's see some stuff that the chat is saying. They're saying Blaine Gabbert, Justin Blackman, Blaine Gabbert, Jelena, McManus. McManus is a good one that not many people are talking about.
It's a great one. Great pick.
Jonathan Cyprian. That's a hot take.
Toby Why Gerhard. Do you hate him? I mean, it's not his fault. He was drafted in the second round.
Dwayne Grotz. That's so random. Like these also are guys that I wouldn't even think drafted. Of. Yeah,
he was like what? He like a 4th round pick. He wasn't even like
I think he was a
third rounder.
Third.
Yeah,
okay.
He in a bad draft class. Aaron.
How are you gonna hate on Eugene Monroe?
Eugene Monroe.
He was fine.
Him? Did someone say Eugene Monroe? I didn't see that one.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of the chat here.
Okay, let me see some more. Josh Lambo. Yeah, I mean that's a weird one. He obviously fell out. But he was Matt Jones. Denard Robinson. What did Denard Robinson do to you?
All right,
Hugh
Douglas is the answer, but I will not stand for any Matt Jones slander. Okay, I'm sorry.
Man, that guy's
did you see the video of him recently?
No.
Oh, God.
He was so faded.
Like, is he? I know he does like Arkansas radio and stuff now.
He looks homeless. He looks like a homeless person.
Luke Jokel. Luke Jokel's a good one. Luke Jokel's a good one. I saw some more here. Blaine Gabbert.
Again, not Luke Jokel's fault. He did his best.
Exactly.
Yeah, Eugene Monroe. I see that here. Derek Harvey. That might be a good one. Have you guys seen Derek Harvey's? Why would anyone hate
on Monroe though? I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you guys seen Derek Harvey's workout video on YouTube?
No.
Oh gosh, you got to look up. Like, I think if you just type in Derek Harvey workout, like he was like doing like some dance. It was. I challenge you guys to look it up.
I'm surprised no one said Clavon.
Chase on.
Oh, there it is.
There you go. And
CJ
right
Henderson.
on cue.
Here's an Agnew. Here's a Brian Anger.
What?
CJ Henderson. CJ Henderson's a good one. At least people say like CJ Henderson's the biggest like bust, but at least we got a 3rd round pick back for him. You know,
Luke Jokel.
Like we gave Chase on so many snaps for him just to do absolutely nothing. Yeah,
Luke Jokel was taken 2nd overall.
He was.
I mean, that's the biggest bust.
That was a pretty bad draft class, though. I think out of that round, only like D Hop. I think there's actually one other. I think Lane Johnson actually might have been drafted in that class. I forget, but yeah,
Aaron
it was
Donald?
Aaron Donald was not. He was in 2014.
Okay.
2013 was like 2013 was the bad. 2014 was a pretty good class. Khalil Mack.
Okay.
Clowney.
JJ Watt.
You know, you had Amari Cooper. I think. No, JJ Watt wasn't in that class. I think he was 2012. He was 2012 because he was with Blaine Gabbert. No, 2011 because the Jaguars drafted him instead of Blaine Gabbard said JJ Watt. But yeah, fun
call.
fun little conversation here. We're gonna wrap this show up. We got a $10 super chat. So let me just say we can still win this division. However, if the communication and coaching is so disconnected, and maybe you guys discuss this, at what record would you rather us get better draft picks? Oh no, I mean I want to win. I'm not trying to lose for draft picks at this point.
I mean,
Then at what record?
the question is valid.
Yeah.
I know what you want, Dalton, but the question is valid. At what point do you start saying, all right, we need a good draft pick?
I would say 9 losses.
I do get to that point. Like I'm usually pretty early on let's tank for better draft picks than most people are. And I usually get some hate for it, but I mean, I don't know. I gotta see, if we're 4-9, I'm gonna start cheering for us to lose, but it's gonna be at least midway through the year. Like we got to be completely down for the count before I start, because then there's also other things that factor into it. There's the fact that, okay, maybe I want to clean house. Okay. Maybe I want these guys to stack up losses. Maybe, all of a sudden, Trevor might be hurt and all of a sudden it really doesn't make sense to win game. You know what I mean? There's different things that kind of factor into it for me, but usually I'm pretty early on the, let's just go ahead and lose games because winning isn't doing us anything.
All right, just real quick. There's a commenter that said, if we were 0-6, would you start thinking tank?
Man, probably not. Probably not yet.
That means you lost to the Colts at home. That means you lost to at least one rookie quarterback in London and maybe a second one with the Patriots.
Yeah. I don't know.
Patriots
I don't know.
look good, man. Patriots look kind of good.
That would actually be through 7.
Patriots look kind of good.
They are.
That would be through 7. If they're 0-7, yeah.
Yeah.
They're in the top.
0-7. Yeah, maybe 0-7 for me too. But man, I hope we don't get to that point. It'll be
why not? We'd have 15 viewers on this show if we were 0-7.
Like I'm not sure if this would be like a sad show or a mad show by then, because I don't know.
Just be a mock draft show every week.
It'd be don't get me in a mock draft.
It would be Dalton's like, hey, I'm not making it tonight, so it's just you two tonight.
Guys, I'm having diarrhea. I can't make it. I'm sorry. but oh man. But all right, guys, that'll be your latest edition of Club Jaguar. Next week, I believe we're going to be on Tuesday night, right, Jordan? Is it going to be next week?
Yeah. Night after the Bills game, so that'll be fun or not.
So, guys, if you're following me, I'll be on the AFC South roundtable at 7:00. Then over on Club Jaguar at 8:30. So we're gonna be pulling we're gonna be having a busy night right after a Jaguars dub again. We're getting a W. It's like Jason picked us to win outright. I mean, Jason has a 5-1 record to preserve on BetUS. So he is, if he believes, then I believe.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
He's gonna be 7-2 after this week.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be a lot of fun, man.
If I'm 7-2, that means you guys gained one on me.
Yeah,
that's right, because it's going under.
Oh yeah. But all right, guys, thank you guys so much for being here. If you guys can, please drop a like on your way out. Also, guys, we have all the different links in the description for Jordan. Now, Jordan, he goes out here and makes not only daily content, but he makes like multiple videos in like one day. So he's going to keep you guys all updated around the clock. And also, Jason, if you guys haven't already, man, he had a nice 2-hour live stream last night. If you guys are, have an office job like me and want to put on some stuff to pass time, just play it, listen to him. There's some good knowledge. He brings Travis on too. It's a great show. So other than that, anything else coming up for you guys? We'll start with Jordan.
Well, we'll start getting into Bills previews, all the stuff we normally do. Just did drop a 3-round mock draft, 4 picks for the Jaguars. A lot of people are doom and gloom, so I'm just trying to give those people.
Where are we drafting right now?
Yeah. What pick?
Where are we on Tankathon?
Yeah.
4th.
Did you pick us in the 4th spot? Is that where you mocked us, or you?
Yeah, I did it on NFL mock draft database. So yeah.
Can you do one?
Who'd you take? The tackle out of Texas?
Yes, very nice. Yeah.
That's
right.
Can you do one tomorrow with us at number 32? Oh man, that's number great. 4. I can't believe. Oh gosh. Okay. So that's.
But I did do a feed Brian Thomas Jr. video today.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get into that.
How the Jaguars can get good. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll
great.
have plenty of Jags Bills content. It's a little weird because it's on a Monday night, so like the schedule's a little different. But yeah, and I'll be out there the next couple days chatting with Doug Peterson and coaches and all that good stuff.
All right. So we'll move on to Jason. Jason, are you going to be chatting with Doug Peterson and
Yeah,
the
he's
crew?
coming on my show. He committed to a 2-hour live show to talk about all those things. So he'll be on. I do have a special guest coming on very soon. So I don't want to spoil it yet, but
Oh,
I do have a special guest
yeah.
coming on.
you're going to leave
live
us hanging
shows
like that?
Tuesdays and Fridays. Tuesdays and Fridays. So that's
All
it.
right. Cool. So yeah, so check out Jason. He's
Not
definitely
this Tuesday though. Not
Yeah.
this Tuesday.
But
But-
Jason is teasing us. Okay, he's got a special guest on Friday. He doesn't want to unveil it. It's a special guest if he doesn't want to unveil it, or
That's right.
maybe they back out last minute, or maybe he doesn't even have anybody in, and he just
Maybe
wants
I'm
to.
just trying to drum up some viewers.
I mean, us YouTubers, man, we're clickbaity. We
That's right.
we try to do anything to get us a click, and here Jason is on Club Jaguar just trying
Even
to get everybody to click.
a mock draft where you're picking fourth. Sometimes we just need to get views.
Oh boy, yeah.
Do it.
Hey, mock drafts always get clicks. So yeah, with that said, thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Shout out to BetUS for powering this stream. We put money on some stuff. You guys can too. 150% deposit bonus. BetUS.com, promo code YouTube150. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Like I said, drop a like on your way out. Subscribe to these great content creators, and we will see you guys